Replayed each week from 11:30 to noon on Sundays on Beaver County Radio. Archived Best of Beaver County videos can be viewed on the WBVP WMBA Facebook page. It's your chance to encounter the best of Beaver County with host Mike Romai this Thursday starting at 11. For more information, visit beavercountyradio.com.
St. Barnabas thanks you for listening to Beaver County Radio.
You're listening to 99.3 FM, presented by St. Barnabas, in addition to 1230 WBVP Beaver Falls. Beaver County Radio's news source. 95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, and streaming at beavercountyradio.com. Here's Curtis Walsh.
Good morning. We can expect sunny skies today with a high near 71 degrees. We'll have a complete Beaver County radio weather forecast after this look at news. The Allegheny County Fire Marshal has released the names of the two people who died in a house explosion in Crescent Township yesterday morning. The victims have been identified as Helen H. Mitchell, age 87, and her husband, David L. Mitchell, age 89. A private gas well and propane tank exploded outside the couple's home in the 1400 block of Riverview Road. Crews received the call at 8:55 a.m. Crescent Township Fire Chief Andrew Tomer reported that there was a smell of natural gas and propane upon arrival. In addition to Crescent Township, Moon, Swickley, and Ambridge were among the fire departments who assisted. The state fire marshal is investigating the cause of the incident. A vehicle and a school bus crashed on northbound Route 65 shortly after 3 p.m. yesterday at the Veterans Bridge intersection in New Brighton. Numerous departments responded to the scene. Sources say the bus was carrying students from Baden Academy Charter School. No injuries were reported. The Hopewell Area School Board met last night. Beaver County Radio News correspondent Sandy Giordano reports that Dan Engen of Draw Collective was present at the meeting and reported that 60 residents and a dozen who were online participated in a community meeting concerning the possibilities of consolidating the district school to 3 buildings. Some concerns were addressed at the meeting included busing students, available land, playground space, and traffic. A PowerPoint presentation was presented outlining what the district can do if consolidation is done. On Friday, there will be a district staff roundtable discussion. And also at the meeting, the high school principal, Michael Allison, announced his retirement effective July 30th. The board meets in regular session on Tuesday, March 26th. Center Township and Rochester Borough were awarded $33,000 in combined grant funding to help hire and train new police officers, according to State Representative Rob Matze. Matze said the funding from the Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency, which includes $28,000 to Center Township and $5,000 to Rochester Borough, will help departments ensure that any gaps in staff or training do not compromise public safety. Matze says more police on the beat means safer streets and communities, keeps individual officers safe, and helps ease the workload and burnout. The funding is part of a package of grants awarded statewide to support Act 120 mandatory training and recruitment activities for law enforcement officers. An Aliquippa coffee shop will be hosting a free breakfast for veterans. Uncommon Grounds on Franklin Avenue in Aliquippa is hosting the free breakfast for military veterans on Saturday, March 16th from 9 until 11 a.m. All non-veterans are being asked for a $5 donation for breakfast. Social workers are in the spotlight this month. Danielle Smith reports they play a crucial role in addressing society's most critical challenges, from mental health and addiction to child welfare and elder care.
It's estimated Pennsylvania will need at least 12% more social service workers by 2030, including social workers. March is Social Work Month, and Sierra McNeil with the National Association of Social Workers Pennsylvania chapter says the theme is empowering social workers so they can serve their communities more effectively.
If there is any message that I would love to give to social workers is continue to empower yourself. I think it's important to look inside and see how I can be the best social worker that I can be. But don't forget, we do this work because we want to empower our communities.
McNeil points out that social workers operate in a variety of settings, from hospitals and mental health facilities to schools and federal and state agencies.
Here's the Beaver County forecast.
We're gearing up for a beautiful day today. Mostly sunny with a high near 72. Clear and mild tonight will drop down to a low of about 46. Mostly sunny again tomorrow. We could see an early afternoon shower with a high near 72. The showers will start to come in Thursday night with a low of 55. And showers and a likely thunderstorm are possible on Friday with a high near 64. I'm Lisa Marie with your Beaver County weather.
On this Wednesday, March 13th of 2024, at 9 after 11, we've got a temperature of 59 degrees with sunny skies in Beaver County. That's a look at the news for now. I'm Curtis Walsh for 99.3 FM and AM 1230 WBVP, also streaming live around the world at beavercountyradio.com.
Welcome to Garden Jargon with Charlie Durden right here on Beaver County Radio. Charlie is here to talk to you about everything having to do with your garden. Garden Jargon is being brought to you by Beaver County Radio 95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with 1230 WBVP and 1460 WMBA, and beavercountyradio.com. Call in now and ask Charlie your gardening questions. Share if you have any gardening tips that have helped your garden grow. Phone numbers are 724-843-1888 and 724-774-1888. And now, without further ado, here's Charlie.
I really don't know what more you could want than an introduction like that.
Well, I was wanting him to re-record it, but that's the first thing he did after he got out of rehab, so it's kind of...
I was about to... Do you think he drinks when he... That's Frank Sparks going full hee-haw, and I think that's absolutely brilliant, as I think the return of Garden Jargon is absolutely brilliant. Good to see you, Charlie Durr. Oh, people can see this. If you want to send questions in via the live Facebook feed, go ahead in the comments section. I was thinking about you... over the weekend. It wasn't a great weekend. It was snowy and kind of cold on Sunday. But I was outside on my porch and I was looking at the remnants of last year's porch garden. And I got to sort out what I'm going to do with this year. I want to do something different. And I need your help. I don't know when to put stuff in. I don't know what stuff that's going to be different. I want something to eat.
Okay, yeah. And first of all, it's a lot of fun to be back. I get homesick for that couple, 2-3 months we don't do this, you know.
Do you really? You get the cabin fever thing?
Well, yeah. And yesterday was great for cabin fever because I was out in a T-shirt getting my garden ready to plant the onions. I was out tilling and getting mulch ready and stuff. And then it's going to be, lousy again over the weekend. So you go out and you enjoy what you can, whatever. But you had mentioned a couple days ago on the air that you wanted to try starting some stuff from seed.
Yeah, I feel like I don't feel like I'm cheating when I get the little seedling cups, but it's kind of like getting the old Cliff's Notes instead of reading the book. It's not the full experience of it sprouting from nothing, from dirt.
It's like the difference between a paint by the number picture and sitting down with a pencil and making a sketch.
Exactly. And I want to do seeds, and I know you got to get the seeds in as early as you can, but I don't know when it's going to not snow.
Well, the thing is, all your seeds you're going to have to pretty much, that you're going to want to grow, you're going to have to start inside, other than if you're going to do okra again. You can direct...
I am doing okra.
Okay, you can direct plant your okra seeds into your planters. It's not near time to do that. And the thing, right now, you're itchy to get out there, you're itchy to do something. Now, this is not a container thing, but my first topic here were things that you can plant now. And right now, if traditional St. Patrick's Day, which is only a couple days away, is the day to plant your onions and snow peas.
I knew snow peas were on the list because they're called snow peas. They can deal with it.
Right. And the thing is, you can plant your onions and get them in the ground and get them mulched. I mulch them with shredded paper to keep the weeds down. And the snow peas, you plant them, and if the ground is cold, and if it gets cold again, don't fret. And if you plant them and you're looking and they're not there and they're not there and they're not there, when the ground warms up just a tad, they'll come up. But the reason why they call them snow peas is I've seen the peas up out of the ground thriving when there's snow blowing in the air. Okay, and a little bit later,
just like I've seen wild onions, same thing.
Same thing. And there's these things that they pop up in people's yards that some people call them garlic chives.
Yeah,
it looks like a real dark green grass, and if you cut it and break it up, it smells like a combination of garlic and onions, and people do make soups and sauces and stuff out of them. It's a very short-lived thing. They're up, but as soon as it gets warm, they're gone. Okay, you can get your ground ready now. The thing is, if you have a clay soil and it's been cold, when that stuff gets cold, it stays cold longer than the loamy soil that I have in the river bottom.
Why? Because it's more dense?
It's more dense.
Okay.
Right. So you can, in a little bit, maybe wait another week or two after St. Patrick's Day, you can plant some potatoes. You can get that in the ground, and then you're pretty much relegated to starting your seeds inside. I'm sure you're going to start some tomatoes. I'm sure you're going to want to start some peppers.
Tomatoes and peppers are happening because I eat those all year.
Right. Okay, now, I brought you something today. I didn't bring it in here, but you said that you was going to do things from seed, and last year...
So you're saying on the air, hey, I brought you some seeds.
No, I brought you some seeds, but I brought you seedlings in a cup. Remember last year we did the segment on you can use anything in the world to grow your seeds, and you don't necessarily have to go buy expensive containers and stuff.
No, it can be a piece of it can be a paper towel that you keep moisture in, right?
Well, that's use that sort of anything.
Or is that the sprout?
Well, the paper towel thing it's a viability test for the seeds. Say you have some seeds. You're not sure if they're going to germinate. You take a couple of them, put them in a damp washcloth, fold the washcloth over, and leave it set on your kitchen counter or something for a few days, and then you just pull it back, and if them seeds are sprouted, then you know the rest of the seeds in that lot are good to go.
They're good to go, okay.
Right, the seeds might be a couple years old. Maybe they're seeds like some doofus like me has given to you, and you're not sure whether they're going to grow.
Those okra seeds, they were great last year.
Right. And okra's super easy to save the seeds from. You just let the pods go a little bit too far. You let the pod go to where a bullet won't go through the pod.
Which will happen with an okra pod, for sure.
Yeah, but that's what you got to do to get the seeds mature.
I still have some okra, been dead all winter. Are those seeds still good? I mean, they're obviously they've more than withered and dried out with no moisture.
Right. I've never done that with okra, Eddie, but I'll tell you something. A very good, wise guy that knew a lot more about gardening than I told me years ago. He said, cold doesn't destroy seeds, but heat will. Mm-hmm. And evidence of that is if you've had tomatoes someplace last year, and all of a sudden this year there's tomato plants coming up, it's from seeds that have dropped off of that. Maybe a tomato fell on the ground and rotted. It laid out there all winter.
One of my neighborhood squirrels got into a fist fight with it.
Yeah,
and knocked it loose. Yeah.
Well, and we call them volunteer tomatoes. That's perfect. And a lot of times, them volunteer plants come up. They're stronger than something you can go buy because they've weathered the storm, brother. They've been out there in the cold.
They're the mongrel. They're not the highfalutin fancy purebred seed anymore. They've survived the real world for a little bit.
Right. Now, if the tomato or whatever was a hybrid, we talked about that, it's not going to be what it was last year. It's going to be what one of the parents were. But if it was like an heirloom tomato, like a beefsteak or a Marglobe or something like that, or an heirloom cherry tomato, it's going to be what it was. If it's a hybrid, whatever. But the thing is, sometimes that's fun, too, because you save a couple of them volunteers just to see what they are. Mm-hmm. You don't have that luxury necessarily with containers. You want to get production out of a limited space, And the plant I brought you, it's out in the other room now. Mm-hmm. It's in a styrofoam coffee cup. So if you're one of those people that stops and gets a coffee on the way to work, instead of pitching the cup in the trash, you can start seeds in them. Styrofoam cups are great, and I did that just to kind of show what you can do. But the interesting thing about these tomatoes, all right, my daughter and my granddaughter were in Michigan last year because my granddaughter was going to Oakland University in Michigan. Mm-hmm. They have an ag program there. So my daughter went out there for a visit, and knowing what her dad loves to do, she went to their greenhouse that the ag kids did. She brought me back a couple different tomato plants, and one of them really expensive purple grape tomatoes when you go to buy them in the store.
Oh, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking. And they're like twice as much.
Yeah, but You know why, Eddie? Because they have flavor.
Because they're cute.
And they're cute. Well, that's what's in that cup out there.
Oh.
There's several of them in there. So you just keep them away from the cats and put them in a sunny space.
They don't go out. The cats are not a problem with what I grow. Everything I grow is out on my porch. But there are limitations because I'm not growing a plot. I'm growing 8 or 10 basically containers. Potted plants.
Right. Now, and the thing is, you can start pepper seeds now, tomato seeds now. It's a little early for tomatoes, but if you got lots of sunlight, you can get by with them. But if you're planting seeds, if you're planting something like peppers, celery, eggplants, they do a lot better with what they call bottom heat. Okay,
I just bit my lip to keep from blurting out what I almost blurted out.
I could read your mind. From
Don't
over.
we all?
Oh, yeah.
There you go. Let's go ahead and clear the air. They suffer from bottom heat. I don't think of that as an affliction.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, if you have floor registers.
Dirty words with gardening.
Yeah. Oh boy, we have so much fun. Anyway, if you have peppers, eggplants, celery, if you keep the bottom of the container warm, they'll germinate a lot quicker. It's not that they won't germinate if you don't do that, but it's going to take a lot longer.
You're helping them out.
Right. And if you have a floor register, okay, you set them on a floor register, a heating pad. Like a heating pad you put on a sore back or something like that. Put a piece of plastic over that and turn it on, put your seeds on that.
I would love to say those are all great ideas, and I'm going to do all of them. Those are all great ideas, and I'm not going to do a one of them. When can I put my tomatoes out? Just on the porch in the cold. Because for me to do that, those are great ideas, but that means I either bring the plants in for the cats to destroy, or I have to run wires out, and I know me. Those are great ideas. I'm not going to do them.
Well, I wouldn't recommend putting the heating pad out on the porch anyways, because
I got enough problem with squirrels showing up to steal stuff.
Well, not only that, if you get a blowing rainstorm and you got electric heat pad out there, it could get real interesting on your balcony.
How did he die? Gardening.
Gardening. Went to pick up his pepper plant.
He was a fool for the hot bottom.
Yeah, I'm not a big advocate of starting peppers and tomatoes outside. If you really want to do that, you're going to have to wait another month and a half or 2 months. You're going to have to get into where you're real sure that the ambient temperature is going to be around 50 degrees at least, and definitely nothing below freezing at night. Okay.
Does it still jack stuff up if the nights? Because I look every week, Charlie, and say, all right, what's the high? What's the low? In my head, I'm thinking once it stays 45 or 50 at night, I can go. That's still too early, isn't it?
Well, if you're starting them from scratch, if you're putting them in your potting mix and putting them out there, yeah, it's. I've never done it. I'm not. If you do it, let me know how it works, and we'll do a segment on it. You know, it's. But to recap,
what other plants like a hot bottom, Charlie?
Well, it helps anything. Even tomatoes don't need it, but tomatoes. I have some tomatoes. I've started now. I've got multiple heating pads, and there's heating pads that are specially made for planting.
Are there really?
There are, and
is that not an insult to Mother Nature?
Well, the thing is, we have a relatively short growing season around here. We're not in Alabama or Georgia, okay? So we got to get it going now if we can to get it out there. And you still, and I've said this, it's the third year to do this show, and I'm saying it again, to set your plants out, to leave them out Memorial Day, okay? Memorial Day is the traditional, us old-time gardeners. There are people that will say Mother's Day, which is a couple weeks earlier. You've spent all that time growing the plants. Why put them out and get them ruined?
Shouldn't it really, by theme, be Arbor Day? Just by theme.
What day is Arbor Day?
I don't know. I'm picturing shrubbery. What's the easiest thing to grow that people think is the hardest thing to grow? Because I was convinced of okra. I don't know if I can grow. I grew okra last year. It was phenomenal. I loved it. I ate it. I tried to share it. Nobody wanted it. What is there that somebody says, I'd like to grow that, but I've heard that's way hard, and it's not?
Okay, not container-wise, but if you're putting your garden,
You're talking about a plot.
A plot, yes. Garlic is super easy. You plant it in September or October. You leave it in the ground all winter. On the 4th of July, thereabouts, your garlic is matured, and it's basically, it's no muss, no fuss. Once you plant it and mulch it to keep the weeds down, okay, there is one thing. If you plant garlic in the fall, May, June, maybe second week of May to the first week of June, it'll make, we talked about the scapes, the seed pods on the top.
Right.
You really should break them off, or the strength will go to that instead of going down to the bulb in the ground. The advantage of that is the scape is a delicacy. They sell those things for big money. Okay, they're a delicacy. The other thing that is super easy to grow and expensive to buy most of the time is asparagus. We talked about...
A friend of mine grew asparagus, and he was in his garden every day putting more dirt on it, but not too much dirt on it, and measuring the different sticks starting to spit. It looked very, very labor-intensive for what you got. I love asparagus, but it didn't look like an easy grow.
Okay, yes, with asparagus, all the work is up front. That what he is doing. Okay, now if you buy asparagus roots, that's another thing. Very shortly, you can get in the ground. The proper way to do it is exactly what your buddy was doing. You dig the hole like really deep, and you put the root down in, and you just put a little dirt over it, and you wait till it start to sprout. And when it starts to sprout, then he puts more dirt around it.
That's what he did. He would go down the row every day, and if they sprouted up, he'd almost bury the sprouts again.
Right,
okay.
But Eddie, once you do that, I am eating asparagus that I planted 30 years ago. It comes back every year. It's a perennial. It's like a rose bush. You remember your mom had that rose bush that come up
every year would sprout, yeah.
Well, that's it. If you're willing to do that labor-intensive, and again, gardening is attention to detail. That's part of the reason why it's mind-cleansing, because that's what you're thinking about. You're not thinking about all the problems in the world. Once you get that asparagus established, you go out in the spring every year, and there it is coming up, and you pick it and you eat it. So, yes, it's labor-intensive. It's not back-breaking labor, but it's kind of tedious.
It's a daily thing where you have to pay attention to it for a little bit.
Yeah.
You're basically updating the level of the ground.
Right. But isn't everything in life worthwhile? You have to pay attention to it. You play the guitar. You have to practice a little bit every day, or maybe a lot every day. You have to keep at it to be proficient. That's the way gardening is. That's the way asparagus. That's the way a lot of things are. Attention to detail, and that's good mind exercise.
I'm going to get into that with you after the news. It's great mind exercise. Charlie Dirt is here. If you've got gardening questions, we'll get on the phone, 724-843-1888 or 774-1888. The return of garden jargon, like the swallows to Capistrano.
The smell of spring is in the air, and that can only mean one thing: spring training baseball on Beaver County. Set your radio dial to WBVP and 99.3 FM to listen to Pirates baseball all spring as Kutch and the Bucks prepare to build off of last season and put the Pirates back in playoff contention. Pirate Spring Training Baseball is presented locally by the St. Barnabas Health System, Freedom United Federal Credit Union, Falcone's Moon Township Ford, Friendly Federal Credit Union, Patriot Home Care, Dr. C. Timothy Lip, and Beaver County Radio.
The best of Beaver County is easy to discover. It's right here on your radio. Tune in Beaver County Radio or watch the Best of Beaver County live on Facebook or YouTube video this and every Thursday from 11 to 11:30. The program is made possible by St. Barnabas. For over 3 years now, the show has been dedicated to shining light on the great things going on right here in your neighborhood and the people that are making it happen. This Thursday, enjoy conversation and insight from an intriguing lineup of guests who are creating excitement and having an impact right here in Beaver County. Your friends and neighbors at St. Barnabas are pleased to support the Best of Beaver County. The radio broadcast will also be replayed each week from 11:30 to noon on Sundays on Beaver County Radio. Archived Best of Beaver County videos can be viewed on the WBVP WMBA Facebook page. It's your chance to encounter the best of Beaver County with host Mike Romai this Thursday starting at 11. For more information, visit beavercountyradio.com. Tune in to WBVP, WMBA, and 99.3 FM during this and every second Thursday of the month at 9 a.m. for a Rappin' with the Reps. The special forum with your Beaver County state legislators is hosted by Eddie Crow and can also be seen on Facebook Live. Voice your opinion or ask questions by calling in at 724-843-1888 or 724-774-1888 or post comments in the video feed to Rap with the Reps. The program is brought to you in part by the Laughlin Insurance Agency and Beaver Valley Auto Mall. Click BeaverValleyCars.com. That's this Thursday morning from 9 to 10 o'clock on Beaver County Radio and Facebook Live.
The Lenten season has arrived, and besides celebrating the resurrection of Jesus Christ, that means fish fry season in Beaver County. Go online to beavercountyradio.com and click on the Fish Fry Guide logo for a listing of fish fries in the area during Lent. If your group is having a fish fry, you can submit it by emailing bcr@beavercountyradio.com. The Beaver County Radio Fish Fry Guide is being brought to you by Our Lady of the Valley Parish Fish Fries, D&G Rentals, Town Square Restaurant, PJ's Deli and Catering, RS Belco, Gosnell's Auto Repair Service, and Beaver County Radio.
Stop by your local McDonald's today and pick up everyone's favorites, the Shamrock Shake and Oreo Shamrock McFlurry, now available through March 24th. Don't miss out on these fan favorites. Shamrock Shake and Oreo Shamrock McFlurry, now at McDonald's. I'm loving it.
Lincoln Park Performing Arts Center continues the Clearview Federal Credit Union subscription series with The World Goes Round, featuring classic songs from the golden age of musical theater, such as All That Jazz and New York, New York, March 14th through the 17th. Get tickets now at LincolnParkArts.org.
Beaver County Radio's news source, 95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, and streaming at beavercountyradio.com. Here's Curtis Walsh.
Good morning. We can expect mostly sunny skies today, reaching a high near 71 degrees. We'll have a complete Beaver County radio weather forecast after this look at news. The Allegheny County Fire Marshal has released the names of the 2 people who died in a house explosion in Crescent Township yesterday morning. The victims, who have been identified as Helen H. Mitchell, age 87, and her husband, David L. Mitchell, age 89. A private gas well and propane tank exploded outside the couple's home in the 1400 block of Riverview Road. Crews received the call at 8:55 a.m. Crescent Township Fire Chief Andrew Tomer reported there was a smell of natural gas and propane upon their arrival. In addition to Crescent Township, Moon, Swickley, and Ambridge were among the fire departments assisting. The state fire marshal is investigating the incident. A vehicle and a school bus crashed on northbound Route 65 shortly after 3 p.m. yesterday at the Veterans Bridge intersection in New Brighton. Numerous departments responded to the scene. Sources say the bus was carrying students from Baden Academy Charter School. No injuries were reported. The Hopewell Area School Board met last night. Beaver County Radio News correspondent Sandy Jordana reports that Dan Engen of Draw Collective was present at Tuesday night's work session and reported around 60 residents and a dozen who were online participated in a community meeting concerning the possibilities of consolidating district schools to 3 buildings. Some concerns that were addressed at the meeting included busing students, available land, playground space, and traffic. A PowerPoint presentation was presented outlining what the district can do if consolidation is done. On Friday, there will be a district staff roundtable discussion on the issue. Also, high school principal Michael Allison announced his retirement effective July 30th. The board meets in regular session on Tuesday, March 26th. Center Township and Rochester Borough were awarded $33,000 in combined grant funding to help hire and train new police officers, according to State Representative Rob Matze. Matze said the funding from the Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency, which includes $28,000 to Center and $5,000 to Rochester, will help departments ensure that any gaps in staff or training do not compromise public safety. Matze says more police on the beat means safer streets and communities, keeps individual officers safer, and helps ease workload and burnout. The funding is part of a package of grants awarded statewide to support Act 120 mandatory training and recruitment activities for law enforcement officers. In Aliquippa Coffee Shop will be hosting a free breakfast for veterans. Uncommon Grounds on Franklin Avenue in Aliquippa is hosting the free breakfast for military veterans on Saturday, March 16th from 9 until 11 a.m. All non-veterans are being asked for a $5 donation for breakfast. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg has reiterated his concerns about railroad safety and scolded the industry for not doing more to improve since last year's fiery Ohio derailment. In a new letter to the Freight Railroad's main trade group, Buttigieg acknowledged that the railroads say they are committed to safety. He also gave them credit for providing sick time to nearly 90% of their workers and for investing in an extensive network of detectors to help prevent derailments. But he said that too often regulators encounter resistance when they try to get the industry to do more to improve safety, and the latest statistics show the industry's track record hasn't improved significantly despite the railroad's efforts. And social workers are in the spotlight this month. Danielle Smith reports they play a crucial role in addressing society's most critical challenges, from mental health and addiction to child welfare and elder care.
It's estimated Pennsylvania will need at least 12% more social service workers by 2030, including social workers. March is Social Work Month, and Sierra McNeil with the National Association of Social Workers Pennsylvania chapter says the theme is empowering social workers so they can serve their communities more effectively.
If there was any message that I would love to give to social workers is continue to empower yourself. I think it's important to look inside and see how I can be the best social worker that I can be. But don't forget, we do this work because we want to empower our communities.
McNeil points out that social workers operate in a variety of settings, from hospitals and mental health facilities to schools and federal and state agencies.
Here's the Beaver County forecast.
We're gearing up for a beautiful day today. Mostly sunny with a high near 72. Clear and mild tonight will drop down to a low of about 46. Mostly sunny again tomorrow. We could see an early afternoon shower with a high near 72. The showers will start to come in Thursday night with a low of 55. And showers and a likely thunderstorm are possible on Friday with a high near 64. I'm Lisa Marie with your Beaver County weather.
On this Wednesday, March the 13th of 2024, at 35 after 11, we've got a temperature of 61 degrees with sunny skies in Beaver County. That's a look at the news for now. I'm Curtis Walsh on 99.3 FM and AM 1230 WBVP, also streaming live around the world at beavercountyradio.com.
Thanks for tuning in to Garden Jargon with Charlie Dirt, right here on Beaver County Radio. It's being brought to you on Beaver County Radio, 95.7, 99.3 FM, 1230 WBVP, 1460 WNBA, and beavercountyradio.com. The phone lines are now open, 724-843-1888, and 724-774-1888.
Been looking forward to this for a while. To me, it's a harbinger. Is that how you say that word? Harbinger of spring. Charlie Dirt comes in, Garden Jargon starts back up, and today is the first day of the new year. And it's good to see you.
Good to be here, Eddie. And real quick before we get, let's get out of bottom heat. I think we've taken that as far as we can.
I'll die first.
Okay,
All
but
right.
if you're watching on Facebook and you see the red cup next to me here,
Yeah.
just a little remembrance for the veteran's friend Toby Keith that passed away recently.
That's nice. I wondered because you made a specific point to set that down, and if you're watching this on our Facebook feed, it's clear as a bell.
Yep. 11 USO shows, hundreds of shows, and the flak jacket he wore wasn't costume. It was necessary for where he was performing.
That's when you know that they're actually serious about giving back, when they're not getting prop safety gear.
Yeah.
It's like, that's a real vest. That's not a vest to look good for the promo shots for the record.
Right.
That's the real vest.
Right. Okay, the next thing because we're into the second segment now, and I have two more things I want to get into if I can.
Okay. Your show, dude.
Okay.
Talk about whatever you want.
You're turning the buttons.
Yeah, but when you mentioned, what was the phrase again? Bottom heat?
Yeah, bottom heat.
Yeah, when you mentioned bottom heat, you know me. Am I going to be mature? All right?
I should have known better.
I put that on you. How dare you incite me into being a pig? What's the next subject?
Okay, selecting a spot for a garden. Now, and I try, this is the third year we've done this, and I try to gear my show, our show, and not to the beginning gardener, to somebody that's not sure whether they want to do it or not. And one of the most important things that in all this is selecting a spot for the garden. We talked about this last year.
You win or lose based on, and that's not really relevant to me, although this year I'm thinking I might be digging up my backyard, so it is relevant
Call
to
the
me.
landlord first.
Oh, we all right.
Oh, okay.
He's forgiven me for worse things.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sure he has. Okay. There's a few prerequisites. It's not rocket science. You want sun. Plants for photosynthesis need sun. Any sun is better than no sun, but morning sun is the best because morning sun gives you the the nutrition of the sun, so to speak, without the blazing, burning heat of the afternoon sun. If you got morning sun, you don't have to water as much. If your only choice is a place with afternoon sun, you just have to compensate a little bit.
That's what's up, and it's going to be hotter, and you're going to have to take a little bit more care with that.
Right. Okay. And I mentioned this, like access to water. Don't put your garden 300 feet from the house unless you really want to spend a lot of money on garden hose.
Right.
Okay. So access to water is important, and leave some room for a fence so that you can fence it. And this is something, this dawned on me.
Why are you fencing it? For the rabbits?
Rabbits, groundhogs, critters that like to eat what you like to eat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vegetarian rats.
Yes,
Okay.
and maybe in the next show or two we'll get into some critter control things. But this dawned on me the other day, and I didn't bring this up last year, and I was remiss. And you're going to laugh maybe at first, is how close is it to a road, an alley, a public sidewalk? And I say that for this reason. When the kids are walking, driving by, whatever, and you first plant your garden, they won't notice it. But when them red tomatoes start to show up on the plants, that's going to catch the children.
Sure.
Okay. And they may come in. And I always told the kids in the neighborhood, look, if you want a tomato, come, I'll get you one. I'll hand you one over the. Okay.
I'll let you pick it out.
Yeah. Or if your football comes in my garden, come get me. I'll go get the foot. Okay. Well, sometimes the kids don't come in just to pick the tomatoes to eat. They pick them to throw them. They may throw them at your car. They may throw them at your house. So if the only place you got is right next to the road,
you're going to lose some.
You go back it up from the road. And if this is a silly suggestion, may sound silly. If you're real close to the road or the street or whatever, spend a few bucks and get one of them solar-powered motion lights. Put a couple of them around the garden. So if somebody comes sneaking in at night, usually when the light pops on, they'll leave.
Where do you fall on the concept of rigging up an electric fence?
I think it's illegal in the state of Pennsylvania.
Are they really?
Well, it's not. You can use it for critter control.
That's if you're stealing my tomatoes, you're like any other critter to me.
I know, but in an actual electric fence, and this is something too. My buddy's got electric fence out on his place, and it's solar powered. The fencer is solar powered, so you don't have to run the power line out there. It's a low voltage thing to control animals and maybe sting a kid.
It's enough to tick off the horse.
Yeah, and make them turn around and go back. But I thought you meant to rig up something that would do bodily harm to somebody.
Sometimes there needs to be an attention getter.
Yeah, but the wrong side of the bars is no place to be.
Don't steal that guy's tomatoes. You'll get frizzy hair from the electrocution.
Yeah, look what happened to Frank over there, Fred or whatever. Okay, but so when you're selecting a garden, and I joked about this last year, but it's very true. If you're looking around and you see a spot and you say, well, the grass never grew there, so I might as well put the garden there because there's people that they say I don't want to tear up my grass, so the grass. There's probably a reason the grass didn't grow there.
Right.
There's an issue with the soil. There's an issue with the shade. There's an issue with maybe somebody dumped something there 25 years ago. Okay.
Or 10 years ago, or 15 or 50, especially in Beaver County. There's a lot. I'll use a polite phrase. There's a lot of funky soil.
Yes.
Available to you in Beaver County.
Right. And if you're going to start the garden, okay, if you go to a spot where the lawn is lush and whatever, do not spade or till that grass under, because you haven't killed that when you till it under. No. It's like if somebody turns you around in your bed and puts your feet up on the pillow and your head down on the butt, you're not dead. You're just in a different position.
You're going to rework it. So and this is what I always say, go out. This time of year is really easy. If you have one of those nice overnight soaking rains, go out and skim the sod off. Skim the sod off and pile it off somewhere. With a flathead shovel where it's nice and easy.
Nice and easy.
Like working a baseball field.
Exactly. Same thing. So skim the sod off, and I say this too, Eddie, and I say this every year, and I say to anybody that's starting, start small, start conservative. Start with something you can take care of. Us retired guys can go out there if we want to and spend 12 hours a day in the garden. If you're working a job and raising kids and taking kids to baseball practice, your time may be limited. So start small with a few plants of something you want to eat or a few seeds of something you want to eat. And if you keep up with it, okay, make it a little bigger next year. Make it a little bigger the year after that. But if you start too big and it gets ahead of you, you can't keep it weeded, you can't keep it watered, you're going to get frustrated and you're not going to do it again. A little success is better than a giant failure.
I want to start a garden. I've never grown anything. I want it to be the most self-handling. I want to do the least amount of work and still get something. What am I growing? Tomatoes?
Tomatoes, peppers, and it's the labor-intensive thing, and I say this all the time, shredded paper for mulch. I mean, you can use grass clippings for mulch. You can use a lot of things for mulch. You can buy, professional mulch to put in your garden, okay? But shredded paper, it used to be you could not use shredded paper because the printer's ink had lead in it. If there's one good thing the EPA did, they made them get the lead out of that ink, and it's a soy-based ink now. Shredded newspaper is the best because it's easy to work and stuff like that. But you can use shredded paper. You don't have to worry about the lead toxin. And if it's a breezy day when you put your paper down for mulch, soak it down. Yeah. Wet it down. Once you get it wet once, it's not going to go anywhere. And it's going to keep the moisture in. It's going to keep the weeds away.
And it's going to keep the heat out. And you mentioned the EPA. I want to ask you this. As a gardener, how important is it to be natural? And is there a point where the term organic takes over and it's more trouble than it's worth? Or is it never not too much trouble? How organic do I need to pretend to be?
I refer to myself as a hybrid gardener.
All right.
I do a lot of organic things. Remember last year we talked about piling the leaves on the garden and leaving them rot? That's what I did yesterday. I ground them, some of them up with a lawnmower, tilled them in where I want to plant my onions and where I plant my potatoes. So I do a lot of organic things, but I'm not strictly organic. I will use fertilizer. Remember last year I talked about Miracle-Gro.
The 80-20 or something? What's it?
What if you're 5, 10, and 10 fertilizer? The first number.
I'm sorry, 80-20. I was thinking of ground beef. My fault.
Okay, yeah. Don't buy the 70-30 stuff. Yeah, but 5, 10, and 10. The three numbers on the fertilizer. The first number is the nitrogen, phosphorus, and potash. Nitrogen, you have to be careful. I mean, you can buy fertilizer that's 20-20-20. That has so much nitrogen in it.
What am I using that for that I wouldn't want to use it for my stuff? I mean, I know there are plants that love nitrogen. There are plants that don't. Corn?
Corn likes a lot of nitrogen.
Soybeans?
I've never grown soybeans, and I don't know. And I'm assuming anything green needs a certain amount of nitrogen. Mm-hmm. Now, and to the third topic before we run out of time here.
Well, it leads in perfectly. I'm going to go home, and in the next couple of days, I'm going to turn over some dirt just to see what I've got because I've never done it. I've mowed the grass, but I've never looked at the dirt, and I make the assumption might not be very good. Well, how do I find out?
Here is your first basic, rudimentary, good old country boy soil test.
Okay. Taste it?
No, I wouldn't recommend that.
It's good dirt. It's good dirt right here.
Well, yeah, I've been told if it tastes like an old penny, I never ate old pennies, Eddie.
I'm not joking. I had an uncle that anywhere he lived on the planet, he had a garden. That's how he chose his garden. He'd taste the dirt.
Right.
And it worked. He grew a lot of things, but...
Yes, but I'm assuming he didn't live in an industrialized area.
No, he seldom was near a former foundry.
Yeah. He didn't need to worry about walking past an electromagnet and getting sucked off his feet. Okay.
Glowing in the dark.
Yeah, and that's a good old country boy. And I don't partake of it, but I'm not going to knock anybody that does. But your first old country boy test after you skim it off, get your round point shovel, your spade, and pick a shovelful and plop it down. If it doesn't fall apart at all, that's most likely a real dense clay soil. You're going to have to do some stuff to loosen that up. You're going to have to add some sand and peat moss to it to loosen it up.
How do I do that? Just till it up?
Well, after you skim the sod off, if it's real hard packed ground, okay, you can, like I say, you can add peat moss and sand 5-to-1. 7-to-1. Different people say different things. 7 parts of sand to 1 part of peat moss.
How far down am I having to dig to turn it over and get a decent spread? Because that sounds like I'm about to start digging a hole.
I would say 10 to 12 inches you want to get down.
Okay.
The height of the spade. You know, you get down, start there.
If I get to the top of the even on the shovel, that's deep enough.
That's what I and flop it. And if it's just like a big lump, if it's clay, it won't fall apart. If it falls apart, then that's a step. That's a good step. That's a good thing. Now this is really neat, and you can relate to this, Eddie, because there's a man, I have got to know him. I've never met him personally. I've only spoke to him on the phone, but he's a good dude. Okay. His name is Kerry McMahon, and he is a teacher at Geneva College. Okay. Now, we talked about soil testing and whatnot. If you got the new plot, it wouldn't hurt to get the soil tested. But you're sitting there and you're saying, well, I don't want to spend a lot of money. I don't know if I'm going to get anything out of this. I'm on a limited budget, whatever.
It's tough to throw a lot of money at something in the front with the hope that it'll work out, for sure.
Eddie, it's like playing disc golf. You play disc golf.
Yeah.
Okay? You can spend practically no money and play disc golf, or you can spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars to play disc golf.
Like a chump, which I have.
Well, the thing is, spending lots of money doesn't guarantee success. Okay? Now, I just talked to Kerry recently on the phone, and I didn't realize this. They do not have a set fee for soil testing. He said, we ask for a donation.
This is Geneva?
Geneva.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, and here's the thing, and this is why I wanted to bring this up on one of the early shows. We would be helping him, and he's helping us and he's actually told me this year, he's had trouble getting enough soil samples for his kids to work with because it wasn't publicized very well.
Okay, well, if you've got a yard with dirt, dig a little bit up, and we're going to get it to Geneva and help them out.
Right. Now,
because these are the kids that are going to learn the stuff that will allow society to continue to grow food.
Exactly. And I'm going to give you, this is a good old landline number. This is into Kerry's office. So if you call this number during the day, chances are he's not going to pick up the phone because he's teaching these kids. So you get your pencil there and write down 724-847-6722, and the thing will come on and say that he's not available, like it does, and leave your name and your phone number. And he will do multiple samples for you. He doesn't want one person bringing 20 samples naturally, because then you're overkill. You're defeating the purpose.
It's 20 of the same test results.
Right, but somebody may take multiple. If you got a fairly good sized garden and you want to get 3 or 4 and go up there and get them tested, I'd say I'm just picking that number. That's a reasonable number. And then when it's all done, whatever your heart feels that was worth. And to me, that's a valuable service. And how many things do you get these days that you set the price? You know, if
you set the price, you're helping kids learn, and the information that the kids are learning are going to help us continue to feed ourselves. I'm looking for a wrong in that. There's not one.
There's not one, and I couldn't find anything to argue with that either. And like I say, I've met many of the people that work and teach at Geneva. I just didn't have the chance to meet him. And during the conversation this year, we got talking about, and these facts come up that I just told you about. Now, this is something, and unfortunately, we're going to go to the East Palestine thing here, and then what happened out there.
Well, it's important to remember.
Yes, and I've gotten this question fired at me, and I don't know. You know, people say, is this safe? Is that safe? These tests that Kerry's kids are going to do, these are basic nutrient and chemical tests of the soil. The pH, the acid-alkalinity relationship, phosphorus and potash, basic soil nutrients.
Stuff that should be there to be found.
And he can tell you how much of it's there. And then you can take those test results. You can take those test results to like the local feed mill or something, the people that know it, and say, this is what my soil test is, and they can tell you, do you need to raise the pH? Do you need to lower the pH? Okay. And here, you talk about organic versus whatever. If the pH is too high, you can lower it. You can use something like aluminum sulfate to lower it, which is a chemical. It's not a bad chemical. But organics, the leaf mold, the stuff like that, animal manure, stuff like that, that will bring the pH down. Peat moss, you got to be careful if you use too much peat moss because that can bring the pH down. It's a chemical balance that if you're just guessing and taking a look at the soil, you're not going to know that. if you're in an area like East Palestine, or you're around where the local steel mills were, okay, hundreds of years.
Where the new steel mill's being built.
Right.
Yeah.
That's Carrie's test is not bad, but he's not going to test for lead and cadmium and molybdenum and all that other stuff.
All the aluminums.
All the aluminums.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a physics teacher in high school that could not say the word aluminum, and I thought that was hysterical. That a high school physics teacher said,
What did he say?
Said, I can't even say it the way she said it. She just couldn't pronounce aluminum.
Now, was it the British trip where she said aluminium? Because that's how the British say it, and it sounds ridiculous.
What she said was like a cross between the way we say it and the way the British say it.
It's somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
Okay. I had a news director once that couldn't say the word Massachusetts, so every story from Massachusetts, we made her read it. She said Massachusetts.
Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything I should have got out from you before I got to let you go? First episode of Garden Jargon with Charlie Dirt. It's great to see you. What did I not ask you that you wanted to let them know?
We covered the basics for the first show pretty well, I think. Just to recap real quick, get your onions in, get your peas in now. In a couple weeks after that, snow peas. If you want to start some seeds inside, it's a good time to start that. I'm not going to go into the... Yeah, okay. Use some bottom heat on the pepper seeds. Okay. And call Carrie up at Geneva, 847-847-6722, and help the kids out, and he'll help you out, and you can get some tomatoes to eat.
And plant the garden. It is, you mentioned it at the very beginning. You said it's good for your brain. When I go out and tend to my peppers and my tomatoes, the world stops for a little bit, and you feel utterly connected to nature and your food source.
And here's the other thing, real quick, Eddie, and I meant to bring this up too.
Mm-hmm.
Once you do it for a while and you start to share the knowledge with somebody,
yeah,
I haven't made all the mistakes, but I've made most of them,
mm-hmm.
and I'm going to make a few more. Okay, my niece contacted me yesterday, and we were texting back and forth about gardening. She's been gardening for 2 or 3 years now. She's doing very well, but she's, you're sharing the knowledge. And remember Lenya that was in here last year, the maples?
Yeah.
All right, we got her started gardening. Now she's making her own yogurt. And
I know it.
Yeah.
It connects you with the world you live in. Good seeing you again, my friend.
Stay safe, brother.
Garden Jargon. Remember, if you learn nothing else, tomatoes love bottom heat.
Well, that's it.